Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I'm going to do a little short video on making an air cleaner, with lack of a better word. We've got part of one. We just need to make it so it works again for the YL2C. And this will work on just about any bike. You've just got to kind of use your imagination and get you some universal filter foam and make it work. So let's get to it. Okay, on these, this is the air filter off the YL2C, and you know, you could do this with just about any of these dry element type filters. You're not going to buy one, you're not going to find one, so you've got to come up with something. So what we're going to do here is first get rid of this. You've got a structure here that is you've just got to modify it a little bit and use some modern materials, and you'll be good to go. This one's already kind of crushed from somebody grabbing it probably to pull it out. So first thing you need to do is just get your Dremel or, you know, a knife or something. Oops, let me get plugged in here. And you can just go in here and cut all that paper out of there. Both sides. And we're going to have to get it loose from down here. I think maybe I might be better off with a knife there. You know, once you can kind of pull it. Yeah. And then after you get it out of there, you can trim it up. You just do whatever you got to do to get rid of it. It's no good to you. And probably most of this, just clean it up the best you can. And you can probably just wet it down with water, and a lot of this paper will go ahead and come out of there. But what I've done on some of these in the past is you can just get in here with whatever you can find. These are stuck in with a silicone kind of stuff, like like caulking. I'm just going to go ahead and continue to try to remove that. When I get it out of there, then we'll go into the next step. This little strap is just kind of, it's glued in there also. This one's kind of come loose. If it'll come out, you can, you don't need to, but if you can get it out, it'll make your life a little easier. Because you want to get most of that paper out of there. You don't want it to get any of the debris to get sucked up. So it's a pretty messy job. I've got my respirator on, just so I'm not breathing it. Now, there's several different things you could do here. You know, you could go get an automotive filter, and you know, probably one that comes to mind for me is like a Ford Escape. It's kind of a flat filter. That would, you could just cut it up and just use the parts you need. But there again, you're at the mercy of that one paper filter. What I want to do is come back in here, and you can see where these this right here is. I'm going to form a piece of this rodent wire just to fit in there, and then I will glue it in just like this other element was glued in with the with caulking. And that'll just, first I've got to get this glued back down, and then I'll glue that wire onto both ends and let that set, and then we'll adapt a piece of uni-filter material so that we can clean it. We can take it apart and clean it and reapply, or just take it off. If you need to clean it, put it back on and reattach it. So as it's not a permanent glue-in thing like you would with a piece of automotive filter. And you know, that would work very good, it really would. But if you use the vehicle very much at all, you're going to be doing this again pretty often. You know, so I don't know, I'm just going to elect to do it this way. That's what I usually do. This will just keep the uni filter from sucking into the area. So let me go ahead and kind of start reattaching things here, and I'll bring you back when I get it done. Okay, just get some of this and cut it to the best you can to fit. May still have to trim it a little bit. And then kind of give it a bend. I think I'm going to have to cut this one a little bit more yet. You can kind of pull these ends apart. Yeah, probably need to, looks like I need to cut off the little remaining ends here. I'm just using the tin snips to do that. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm still going to have to cut off a little bit, another row here probably. So you get the gist. Okay, I'm getting a little epoxy down in here. I'm going to re-glue that, and I'm also going to glue the little shaft in there. You want to make sure you get that back in there before you put your screen on. This is 5-minute stuff, so hopefully I'm not dealing with it for trying to hold it for a long time. And I'll just hold this till it's dry. Okay, my epoxy is just about set up. I always keep this, what's left, so I can kind of tell. I've got a clothespin holding this one piece that broke loose that kind of limits this from going down too far. And once all that's stuck, the tube also glued in, then I'll remove that, and I'll go ahead and put caulking down along the bottom here and all the way around the edge. You don't have to be real close with your netting here, because the caulking is going to seal up those ends, and even down here. You know, of course, my clothespin right now is preventing that from going down. I just wanted to get that in there, you know, so that I don't need to squeeze this apart and break loose the epoxy. So I've got that in there. There's plenty, you can see on this end and on this end, there's plenty of wire across there, so we'll have a good seal with our sealant, our caulking. I'm using a clear. You can use any color you want. This comes out white, I think, but it dries clear. Okay, I put a piece of tape around this to hold the rod and these sides together. And then I took a couple of little vice grips and pulled it down in the middle. And now I'm taking some very fine wire and kind of trying to lace this together, if I can get it to cooperate here. You just want it to kind of go from one side to the other, and then you can tighten it to hold it against those these pieces that were right in here. Okay, this seems to be working pretty good. That way you've got enough room for your filter material that goes over on top of it. So I think we're about ready to put on our caulking now, and this will all hold it until this is set up. Let me get some paper towels down here, just because I'm sure I'll be messy. And you just want to make sure that you're going to be sealed around the opening, around everything actually. You want it all to seal. See how good my caulking is here. All right. And you don't have to be good at this. It doesn't have to be pretty. And then after I'm done, I'll come back and pull my vice grips off and reseal that. And then of course you want to seal it up here too. That caulking will hold everything together better than you think. If you watched when I did the repair on the Kawasaki F7 filter, it's a similar type process. There's, you know, it was already built that way. It had just come apart, and we were just putting it back together. So I'll go ahead and get that on, and then they'll smooth it all out. And then you can get in there just with, just like you would caulk a bathtub or something like that. Just put a little water on your finger and try to smooth it down. Get rid of any of the excess. Like I say, I'll pull my pliers out when that's set. And then you'll be able to pull that wire out also. Okay, so I've got it pretty well covered. So we'll let that set and dry for, oh, probably till tomorrow. And then we'll go back in, fill any gaps that there happens to be. Then we'll start working on our filter material, cutting that and figuring out a way to strap it on. I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to cut a little slot right here and over here and here and here, and then we can lay the filter in there and just hook that strap in there, hook it over here, and that way it'll all hold it together. That's my thought right now. I may have to use rubber bands. I don't know. I really don't want to do that because those don't last very long. But anyhow, we'll figure it out. At least we've got a base to our project now. Okay, we've got all our wire pretty much in place there. And what we need to do now is get our foam. And I'm just using the Unifilter Universal Foam BF1. It comes in a 12 by 16 by 5/8 size. And you want it to be a little bit oversized so that you have to kind of squeeze it into this area here. So I'm just going to use the virgin side over here, and I'm going to need most of this, it looks like, so I'm just going to set it about like such. That's kind of in a bad spot there. Let me turn it around this way so I can get a good mark on it right there. And then we'll just try to make sure it's about the same, and a little bigger than a little smaller. You know, you can always take a little more off. And just trim it to fit. I usually have several of these laying around because you just can't get air cleaners for most of these bikes anymore, so you end up doing this for just about any of them. Next thing we need to do, see how this, you kind of got to squeeze it to get it in there. So we'll kind of roll this around and see where we need to cut it. All right there. Okay, I just wasn't quite sure that I had it right, so I squeezed it into there and then held it around, and it should be a little bit long if I cut it here. It's not a very straight line, so we'll try to straighten it up a bit. I think I got further away as I went across. This is the side here that I started on. So we'll try that one. You can always trim it a little bit if you need to. I've made several out of this piece already, so there's not much left. Yeah, we're just a tad long, but that's okay. I think we'll try to deal with it. Okay, on this bottom part, I'm going to put a small strap across the bottom to hold it in, go all the way through, and I've just put a little slot here in this end, and I'm going to put one in the other end, and we'll do the same on the other. And you just need to get you a Dremel tool. Okay, finally got through there. See if we're wide enough there to get through. Yeah, close. Let me enlarge it just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So here's what I've got in mind. We'll squeeze that into there. And well, looks like I may need to make that a little bigger yet. Yeah, it should go now. You could use wire, and you know, I may across the top when I get ready to do it. I just felt like I needed a little bit wider piece here. And maybe I should have made it a little wider yet. And once we get that in there, then you kind of bend over the end here. And we'll do the same on this end. Just cut off what we don't need there. Just kind of pull it and squeeze it down. So I think that's going to hold it there. And we'll do the same thing on the other side once we get this kind of tucked in here. And I'll see, I think I'm probably going to I'm not sure whether I'm going to strap over the top of it or whether I'm going to use wire. I just cut these little straps out of 20 gauge tin, and you can come across the top too, maybe in about 3 places, and just cut a little hole here in the bottom and do the same thing as we did here. And then if you're worried about it a little bit as far as maybe not sealing all the way, I think we'll be able to get this so that it will. But what you can do is just run a little grease right along here, and that way it'll seal it up. Probably, before you put the foam in there. So let me work on this a little bit. Okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. I've cut one piece of aluminum flashing strap here. It just hooks around the other one, and I think I'm going to put 3 of them on there. And this is what I'm using. It's just aluminum flashing. Looks like it's may work okay. It's just whatever you can figure out to work. This down the road may just not be appropriate at all, but right now I feel like it might be. So you just kind of fish it under the one you had there. Figure out where you want it. Actually, I think I kind of want it around the other way. And bend that over, and you can just get that with your pliers. And fish it underneath the other side. There we go. Kind of push down on it. Pull. Bend over. And squeeze it. And I'm going to make another one for the middle. Okay, this strapping may have been a little bit small, or thin rather, so it kind of pulls up. What I did on the other side here was I drilled 3 little holes and wrapped it with 20,000 safety wire, and I'm going to do the same on this side. Probably overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. You don't want to get that wrapped up around your, let's see, I don't want my finger in there either, so I'm going to reach in there with this and push the foam down, and right at the edge I'm drilling about a 1/16 hole. And all I did then was just take a little bit of 20 thousandths wire and slide it through the hole, and then we pull this around right here around that strap we put on, and then we can just twist that up, kind of pull down. That way it's going to hold it down instead of letting that pop back up out of there. And it's not a big deal, and if you got any Air Force aircraft mechanics, you want to put a little pigtail on that and twist it down. So I'm sure any of you guys that have been in maintenance in the Air Force will understand what I'm talking about here. I'm not going to go into all the how many twists per inch and everything. You just do what you feels right. And same thing 2 more times. Okay guys, there we go. It's all you got to do is put a little oil on it and kind of move it around, so you've got I kind of got through there. That's what you got to watch with your drill. You got to watch that you don't get into that, because it'll wrap it up just like a piece of carpet. But I'm happy with that. If you worry about this portion right here, you can just take a little grease, run it right along there. I think it sealed up pretty nice myself. And then you can just go ahead and spray a little bit of oil on it and rub it out, and you're good to go. You know, it's not going to be an easy thing to clean and re-oil and put back on, but it's really not that bad. You've got everything made now. You can reuse everything except the wire. So, and how often are you going to do it? You know, you might do it, you know, if you're riding a lot, a couple times a year. But if you're not, it might be every 2 or 3 years. You know, not a big deal. And like I said when I started this, you could take, you know, this one wouldn't work, but you can cut this pleating out of these. If you find the right one. This one here is a little bit narrow for doing that, and probably a little bit tall on the pleats. This is for a Ford Escape. I've got those just because I have a couple Ford Escapes. But I just wanted to show you that, you know, you don't have to do it the way I did it. You can change the element type, or you can do it a different way. It's just your imagination. All you've got to do is try to supply the engine with clean air. And this, I'm satisfied, is going to do it. I've got wires in here. I just left those to hold the hardware fabric, I think they call it. I just bought this at the hardware store. Let me grab it and I'll show you. This is the stuff I got, and it's 1/4-inch holes is what it is. When you go over to the hardware store, you can get, I think they call it hardware fabric, or maybe rodent wire or something like that. But you know, you can make all kinds of different ones out of this kind of stuff, and you can solder it, you can braze it maybe if you're real careful. But probably the best way to do it is just the way I did it. Just wire it all together so it won't spring apart, and get your caulking in there, and just let it set up overnight. It's not going anywhere. And that's what a lot of the manufacturers did. They just made a cage that fit inside a little box like this, and they used caulking to hold the wire in, and then spread either a pleated paper filter over it or a foam one, which is more than likely a foam one. But this was more wire than I'll use in my lifetime probably. I think it's maybe 6 feet long or 10 feet long, probably 10 by 3 feet wide, and I think it was about $12.95 or something like that. So anyhow, you know, that's our filter for our Yamaha YL2C, and I think it's just going to work fine. You're not going to find these anywhere. If you are, they're no good. I just don't, you know, they're just not going to be any good. So this is what we have to do to just about all of them these days. If you're lucky, you can get a uni filter or a K&N filter or something that is made for your bike, but you're probably not going to find too many for the bikes that we're working on. If you're watching my channel, we work on old bikes. So anyhow, there you go, guys. Okay guys, there you have it. We've got our filter ready to go for the YL2C. And again, you don't have to do it the way I did it. I'm sure some of you folks can come up with a lot better way. Just use your imagination and make it work. All you're doing is trying to filter the air, keep the dirt out. I did this with a Dremel tool, a 1/16 drill bit where I drilled through, and an 1/8-inch drill bit that I used to make my slots for the wire, or the straps here. And the strapping, I just used some tin. It's 20 gauge tin. You might want to use a little bit heavier if you can find it. A little bit of safety wire and some aluminum flashing. So not a big deal. And the BR1, I think it is. Let me grab that. BF1, Universal Filter Foam, and that's from Uni. And you know, that's the kind of foam that you're going to apply oil to sparingly to help with your filtration. So, you know, if you need an air filter, just take what you've got, modify it, and make it work. And that's just kind of what we got to do with all these old bikes, just about everything on them. Stuff is just getting hard to find. It's hard to repair. So you just have to get in there and come up with some ideas and make it work for you. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.